what they've done with the current Bronco is they've reincarnated the old Bronco and made it look both current and very, very retro at the same time.
Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly show on cars, the car industry, and driving in general. I'm Doug Stewart, digital executive producer for Fox 61 in Hartford. And this is my friend Glenn Packman. He is a car enthusiast and all-around good guy from beautiful Fairfield County. Um, Showing off his dance moves.
Very good.
Uh,
My
Glenn,
my
uh,
game show hosting moves.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
And
well, you
you're
have to be a
you're
dancer to do this well. So,
right, right. And
anyways,
of the
hi.
two of us, you have been on two game shows, correct?
I have, yeah, yeah. One
Yeah.
I did well on.
One you did really well on.
Yeah, yeah.
All
The other one
right.
we don't talk
So
about.
that um
Wah, wah. Anyways,
all
yeah,
right.
a
So
long
the
time ago.
Ford Bronco, we've mentioned many times in the past,
Yes.
turns 60 this next year. Uh
And really, I mean, has had some tremendous work done because no, technically, I guess it has. I mean, if you think
yes,
about it,
yeah. It's had filler and Botox and all
there
those
you go.
things.
Yeah, a little
Um,
filling, a little tweaking, a little, yeah.
um, so when it comes to rugged SUVs, Ford really with the Bronco has picked their own trail. I mean, sometimes they've followed other places, but I, you give them credit, have to give them credit for doing the first Bronco in '66, right? Little Jeep reinterpretation of the Jeep, right? And that was kind of its own thing. It
Mhm.
didn't really, kind of was that thing that we sold, but we didn't pay a lot of attention to it. And 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 how many like you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, how many movie heroes who if they weren't driving that old pickup truck,
Yeah, right.
right? They were driving an original generation Bronco, right?
Sure.
Keanu Reeves in Speed,
Hmm.
uh, a couple other ones that I'm blanking on right now. But in any case, so the first generation, small, very Jeep-like, two-door, very simple, very easy, not a big engine, put a V8 in it later on. Um, and then the fine folks at General Motors came along and said, you know what would really be cool is if we took our big, best-selling, very well-selling pickup truck and put a cab on it, and you could take the cap off, and that would be really cool. And they exploded in the market. And then you have the original Blazer just racking up sales. And Ford then kind of is sitting there going, Wait a minute here. We were doing this first.
Hey,
Yeah. What
you
and
guys.
Jeep is doing their own thing with the Wagoneer and different
Right.
versions of the CJ5 or CJ, whatever. Anyway, so uh, around about 1977, Ford responds with a clone of the Blazer. Same formula.
Right. Right.
Pickup truck base, cap, you know, and those are some of my favorite Broncos, to be honest with you, really honest with you, right? And they various iterations. They say it's different generations. I think they're very similar underneath, but we'll give them different generations. Um, is sold through 1996, and we're going to make a brief mention of the famous slow speed chase with O.J. Simpson and Al Cowlings in Los Angeles. But it's that kind of is the last generation Blazer, more or less, right? And Ford went and replaced it with the Expedition, the four door, right?
Mhm.
Because up until this point, they had no equivalent to the Suburban. Um, although I don't know if you remember this. There was a company called Centurion that made a conversion of off of the pickup truck that was essentially a a four-door Bronco,
Mhm.
right? And so anyway, so then there's a period of time where they didn't sell them, and they've brought them back in the past 5, 6 years. What's your thought on the Bronco?
Um, th- uh, they're iconic. I've always had a hard time connecting with this vehicle because it was never the kind of car that I wanted to drive. I was the small sports car, small sedans. It was never anything I could afford, which made it problematic. And now that I'm older and the base is a little bit better, I'm much more interested in what this car stood for. And so, yeah, wasn't anything that connected to me at a younger age, but it's an iconic car, and it does connect with the people who it connects to, and with good reason. So, I my favorite version of the Bronco is the current one. And
Okay.
a lot of people are going to just, what? Well, how can you
No,
say that?
I think that's a really valid point.
It's much more in line with the kind of car that I'm more in line with now. But in regards to the old trucky, rugged, tall, boxy. I mean, in hindsight, they're terrific cars. And Ford did a great job keeping them pertinent for years and years, And I was just, I was so glad when they came back with the current version, and then they added on the Bronco Sport, which is smaller and a lot more accessible, more utilitarian and more affordable for a lot of people, which was just a great idea because they didn't skimp on the styling of that car. So that's why the car hits with me today. It's a good idea in both of its iterations, and just smart marketing and smart design.
What would you add? So let's consider that the Bronco, which doesn't say Ford on the outside, only says Bronco
Mhm.
on both iterations, I'm pretty sure. What would you say would be another addition to that sub-brand?
I would say stainless steel body panels. I'm kidding. Um, I don't know. It's a good question. We were talking recently about the Hyundai Palisade, and
Mhm.
we went through iterations of one. I forget which vehicle it was, but you went through like from the top
That
of
was what we're talking about, the Dakota.
the Dakota. Thank you. It wasn't Hyundai. Too many cars, too little brain. Uh, anyway, I would love to say, oh yeah, do a luxurious Bronco. No, no. Um, I don't know. I think I like the way it is.
Yeah.
They're offering enough. I don't know what they need to change about it per se. Um,
You,
I
you know,
can't answer your question. I really,
that's okay. That's fine. It's just sort of off the top of my head.
yeah.
One of the things that is coming to mind is that I forget which podcast I was listening to, but somebody had an idea. I think it was Doug DeMuro, said that Lincoln should have a version of the Bronco.
Oh,
That
okay.
they should, you know, do the just go and redo the body panels and
Mhm.
everything and make a Lincoln version of it, which I thought was an interesting idea.
Great.
I think you'd have to commit to it. It
Yeah,
couldn't it couldn't be like the Blackwood pickup truck.
that's what popped into my mind when you said
Right,
that.
right. Um, which was in a lot of ways a really, really expensive F-150.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think you could do it. I don't,
yeah.
I,
Right.
does it fit with Lincoln's, um, raison d'etre? Uh, maybe not,
Yeah.
but Who knows?
It would have to be done right. The Blackwood is what popped into my mind when you were saying, "Oh, give it a Lincoln version," because it was an F-150 that was just made into a Lincoln, and it's so funny because it was really expensive and really luxurious, and yet somehow it looked tacky. I don't know how
Which
they
is so
managed.
easy in an expensive car.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed to do that. It was a zillion bucks and it looked cheesy somehow. So that would be the thing that they would have to avoid with the Bronco. I think I think if they did that, they would have to change the vision of the car because, the Bronco, even the name Bronco is just something really, it's Western and rough and
Yeah.
rugged,
But
yeah.
but I'm saying I'm like making a Lincoln version of it, not making it not it wouldn't be a Ford, it wouldn't be a
Right.
it would be completely separate. But here's the thing that comes to mind, right? What if you made this as a uh Land Rover, Range Rover?
Yeah,
Um
sure,
if
sure.
you're looking like it's really, really luxurious and it will go over anything.
There you go. Now you're talking.
And
Go
and
after the Defender. Go after that market. Yeah. There
yeah,
you go.
I'm Defender, but I'm
Mhm.
thinking even more upscale. You
Really?
know,
Okay.
yeah, because it's not a space where Cadillac is.
Great.
Uh,
No.
and you have the core of it
Mhm.
being a real, we could sell the hell of a lot of SUVs. It's
Mhm.
not like it's not like the departure that the Blackwood was,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, because all of a sudden, what's this pickup truck doing in the showroom?
Yeah. Right. Right. Exactly. And I think that's the risk that they would run with something like that is that it's a very thin line between being pertinent and being preposterous. Am I right?
Right. Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is. And Lincoln's SUVs are stunning and posh, and they're what you buy it for. The Bronco is as a base is so rugged, and
Right.
it's so off-roady in its appeal that I don't know how you convey that to the luxury brand. I suppose it could be finessed, but I would be very
Well,
interested to see what that looks
well,
like.
look at, okay, so besides Range Rover
Mhm.
or Land Rover or whatever, any one of them,
The
look at
Rovers.
yeah, look at, um, what is why am I blanking on the Rolls-Royce SUV?
Oh, um, yeah, that.
That one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or the Bentley
right,
Bentayga, you know,
right.
uh, very, very upscale. And
Mhm.
maybe you're not exactly in that class, but if
Mhm.
that's your aim,
Yeah.
sure. Any case, let's take a quick break and we will be back after this. We're back and we're talking about the Ford Bronco and um what are specific things what do you think they got right with this one?
The
Like,
current,
yeah.
the current version. Yeah, hey, recently I mentioned, and I'm going to remember actually the correct thing that I'm talking about. We relaunching the Dakota and saying, what if you did a pickup truck from that classic era of old pickup trucks? And what they've done with the current Bronco is they've reincarnated the old Bronco and made it look both current and very, very retro at the same time. It's clearly a Bronco. It really, really, really is. It's just the design language comes through 1,000%, and boy, that's just the right thing to do. They brought out the baby Bronco and made it look not ridiculous because to have a small SUV that looks rugged is sort of an oxymoron. It's not something that generally happens. Cute Utes generally don't look rugged, and then you've got the Bronco Sport. So
And they're
very
selling a ton of them.
I know, and they're not specifically cheap either. They're
No,
a little on the
no.
pricey side, but and it's because it's just that boxy, cool. If you
Mhm.
want, honestly, I can't think of a more a more outdoorsy looking small SUV than the Bronco
Mhm.
Sport. And they still have
Yeah.
the Escape if that's not your flavor, you know. So,
Mhm.
good on Ford. But
Yeah.
that's the most successful thing for me about the Bronco is that they managed to do this, and it doesn't look silly and like they were trying too hard. You know,
Mhm.
it looks effortless. It doesn't look tortured. It's a very natural progression to the car that they have today, and that from a styling standpoint, which is always my favorite point to look at things, I think it's just good on Ford. It just,
Mhm. I,
I would,
I think what's interesting for me is that well, first off, they figured out that you should attach the mirrors to the uh, body of the vehicle rather than the doors. So when you
right.
took them off, you had still had mirrors on it.
Yeah.
Um, the doors are apparently pretty easy to take off and store very well. Um, they build, and this is the thing about modern cars, is whatever flavor you want. It's like Baskin Robbins. Was it Baskin Robbins that had 29 flavors? Right?
31.
31. Okay.
31. 31
Um,
full flavors.
there's seven flavors of Broncos, the
Right.
bigger Bronco. There's the base, there's the Big Bend, the Outer Banks, the Heritage Edition, the Badlands, the Bronco Strop Edition, which is sort of looks like a desert rally kind of car, and a Bronco Raptor, which is really wide, starts at $80,000.
And is one of the
Um,
dinosaurs that got cut from the latest Jurassic Park movie, by the way. They introduced the Broncoraptor. You know, not
um,
true, people, not true.
No, no.
Universal's gonna
Uh,
come knocking on my door.
yeah, right.
Excuse me,
Uh,
copyright infringements.
yeah.
Anyways, go ahead.
I am honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the design. I think it's a good design. Don't get
Mhm.
me wrong. I think it's exactly what it needs to be.
Correct. Right.
But there's something about it that and it's me. It's totally subjective. It's fine. I love the interior. I think the interior is awesome. I think it looks great. I think it
Mhm.
functions well. I think that it's very thoughtful. Like you have ways to power like GoPro cameras and such, and a bunch of extra switch gear that you can do with what you want. And it's kind of modular in that respect. So I think that's awesome. I give them a lot of credit for the product itself. And what you said about the Bronco Sport, I think a lot of people were like looking askance at it when it first came out.
Mhm.
But I think that it's selling great.
Sure.
Puts more people to work at that factory, you know.
Mhm.
And what you're seeing is that, the escape sales are doing that. I don't know how popular it would be if you had like a tiny two-door version of the Sport, right?
Mhm.
That was sort of had a lot of echoes of the original Bronco, like a
Mhm.
lot of those design cues, not that it doesn't already, but really just kind of, went back to that. I'd be interested in that. I'd be
Yeah.
interested in
Yeah.
seeing how that played out.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think, is there a market there for a larger version of the Bronco that's maybe based on the F-150 platform? The Ranger platform is what's used for the Bronco now.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know. I don't know. But good on them. Sell a lot of them. I would imagine there's a new generation coming out within the next couple of years. But all right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with a little bit on stolen cars. We are back. One of the things that came out recently, Glenn, was a list of the most stolen cars. The highway loss data, it's the Camaro ZL1. There is a issue with the software, steal the cars more easily.
Right.
And the ZL1 being the top of the line is what they're stealing. Is there some surprises on this list for you, Glenn?
I'm going to say an anti-surprise that Acuras seem to be targeted a lot.
Yeah.
I know somebody who this was going back a couple of years, but bought a new Integra and it was stolen within a week. He got it replaced, and that car was stolen within a month. So when he finally he got a Volkswagen Jetta after that. So um,
So make it a standard and no one will ever steal
right. There's a cat in the background, by the way. So
Hello.
hey, Jakey, come on, let's say hi. That's my cat, Jake. So yeah, what were we saying? But yeah, so Acura has been on my radar for being cars that have been stolen a lot. I still feel bad for this friend of mine who just couldn't keep an Integra where he lived. They were just they would vanish. So and
Here's here's what's interesting to me, that you have Silverados and Sierras
mm,
and Rams, 1500, 3500. So you have two different flavors of pickup trucks. You don't see the F-150, the most popular truck in America, up till the RAV4 took its crown. Um,
right.
you don't see that. You see there's a Jeep, there's Durango. I just find it interesting that of all these cars, looking through it quickly, I don't see a Ford in the top numbers. I don't see a
Right.
Ford anywhere in there. When you look down at the lowest claim frequency, it's Tesla, Tesla, Tesla.
Yeah.
And then it's a RAV4, then it's Tesla again, and some of our favorite Volvos. And now
Mhm.
you're seeing on the bottom end the Ford Mustang E, the Explorer. Somebody stole Venzas. Why would somebody steal a Venza?
Well,
Anyway,
I mean, a lot of it is, from what I understand, I don't really know that much about car theft, but a lot is about what are you going to get the best parts out of. I don't
yeah.
think people keep cars to drive them around once they're stolen. It's all about taking them to a chop shop and getting rid of the
I,
parts.
if you, yes, I would agree with you. It's your professional car thieves
Yes,
are
right,
looking to part it out.
right, exactly,
It's a different, the teenager part of it is
right.
a different thing entirely.
Right. There's the joyride, and then there's, for doing it for money. So
Okay.
you can't discount the joyride part either. I mean, it's got to be
Mhm.
part of the reason why Camaro's on the list,
Yeah.
at the top of the list is, yeah, of course you want to go joyriding in a Camaro, and no, you don't really want to go joyriding in, I don't know, a,
Venza.
a Venza, right? There you go. But to that
I'm
end,
sorry. All you Venza owners,
yeah.
we hear you. We care about you. We
We
love you.
do. We do. We don't love your vehicle that much, but we do love
Yeah.
you. It's a good car. I mean,
My car.
well,
My car.
you know my feeling about Toyotas. They make a good car,
Run
period. End of
forever.
discussion. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
By the way, getting back to stolen cars, I think that's why the Honda CR-V hybrid is on the list, is because that's a car that just sold so many that it's a good car to steal for parts,
True, true. But look at what's number four from the bottom of the lowest claim frequencies.
Da, 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 da. One, two, three, four. The Venza.
No, no,
No.
go the other direction. Going down, the list goes
Oh, oh,
reverse.
oh, 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 I'm looking for the top. Oh, the Toyota RAV4. Wow.
The RAV4 Prime.
Wow.
So, that's the ultimate hybrid. It's the plug-in
Right.
hybrid one.
Right.
I found that interesting,
Yeah.
and frankly, as a CRV owner, a little disturbing that this.
Yeah. Yeah. Lock your CRV, dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But it's interesting. All right, that's gonna wrap it. We're gonna wrap it up for this week. Glenn, thank you as always for being here. Glenn, yeah, Glenn is here. Jeff is not. Jeff couldn't make it this cycle. Um, and for those of you who don't know, and you probably figured it out if you're smart, intelligent viewers, that we record a bunch of these at once, and
I have
then
not been wearing the same shirt for 4 weeks. No. Neither has
um,
Doug. Neither has Doug.
yeah. But anyway, so Jeff couldn't make it this time. We will see him again. And with that, we are going to say goodnight.
Good night.